Hong Kong cinema has long made its mark with many classic works, but it also harbors valuable films that remain relatively unknown. The First Seventh Night, directed by Herman Yao, is a prime example of horror cinema deeply infused with traditional Chinese cultural elements. The film explores a unique spiritual custom, the belief that the deceased returns to the mortal world on the first seventh night, the seventh day after death, to bid farewell to their loved ones one last time. The film opens with a gloomy atmosphere, marked by a slow pace and psychological depth. It is not merely a chilling story, but also a moving one, quietly reflecting the realities of life and the unresolved inner struggles of people. The work stands as proof that horror can also touch the deepest emotional layers of the human experience. The film opens with a quiet nighttime street scene, taxis weaving through the busy roads, ambiguous phone calls hinting at something unusual. The pacing is slow, evoking a sense of anticipation, as if something is about to happen at any moment. In this suffocating atmosphere, the character King of Maps, played by Gordon Lam Katong, emerges as a quiet fragment of the city's fabric. His nickname is not merely symbolic. It reflects his experience and seasoned nature, a veteran taxi driver who knows every corner of the town. After a brief negotiation, he accepts an unusual fare to Sun and Moon Village, a mysterious, almost forgotten place. In the first seventh night, he once again brings to life a brooding gaze, a stoic demeanor, and a flickering cigarette in hand, painting the portrait of a man weathered by life. The King of Maps comes across as a rebellious, world-weary figure, carrying the shadows of his past with him on every road he travels. The passenger seeking a guide for his journey is Little Ma, played by Julian Chung Chi-lam. The two quickly strike a deal. The King of Maps will deliver a package to Sun and Moon Village in exchange for a generous sum of money. The journey begins in an eerily quiet atmosphere with conversations carried out through a walkie-talkie, creating a sense of distance and adding a mysterious undertone to the late-night trip. From this point on, the film is enveloped in a dark and chilling tone, keeping the audience intrigued about what lies ahead. Little Ma comes across as cold and reserved, a man seemingly harboring a hidden secret, adding layers of suspense and mystery to the unfolding story. Their conversation takes us back to the past, as the King of Maps recounts to Little Ma the tale of the Chunlei Hotel in Sun and Moon Village. The story centers around Ah Fong, the hotel's proprietress, Michelle Ye Xuan. One day, she returns home carrying her child, only to find herself confronted by 4 uninvited guests, a gang of robbers who had just escaped with a large stash of gold. Ah Fong suddenly faces a dangerous and bewildering situation. She is forced to serve the intruders, complying with their demands. The real horror begins when one of the gang members, Chan Kyung, played by Samuel Tsang, becomes obsessed with Ah Fong. Enchanted by her fragile beauty and solitude, Chan Kyung gives in to his primal lust and rapes her. His blind desire sets in motion a tragic chain of events, culminating in a devastating outcome. The first seventh night draws inspiration from an ancient Chinese belief. The seventh night after a person's death, known as the first seventh, is believed to be the moment when the departed returns to the human world one last time to visit their loved ones before moving on to the next life. The robbers are unaware that tonight is the very night Ah Fong's husband is expected to return. The film's atmosphere shifts into a dark, ritualistic scene of worship, filled with dim lighting and vague, creeping sounds that seep through the house, creating a chilling sensation, as if the world of the dead is gradually making its presence known. Ah Fong sits in silence, as if seeking shelter from her trauma. Her emotional state resembles a small piece of driftwood on a river, fragile, powerless, yet clinging to the hope of a miracle, the return of her late husband. At the same time, the robbers grow increasingly uneasy amid the strange ritual. Chan Kyung begins to feel a creeping anxiety, haunted by the guilt of his immoral actions. A sense of dread takes over him, as he fears the soul of the husband has returned to seek justice for what was lost. The mysterious ritual serves as a bridge between two worlds, marking the moment when Ah Fong's husband's spirit returns. It provides a sense of catharsis and satisfaction for horror film lovers. The film fully utilizes hazy visuals, flickering lights, and an eerie silence to create an intense, supernatural atmosphere. The story concludes with a gunfight, a familiar motif in Hong Kong cinema. In the end, Chan Kyung pays the price for his despicable actions. When the narrative returns to the present, Little Ma reacts with skepticism to what the King of Maps has just told him. He coldly remarks,
假嘅，8成係假嘅。
呢度啲嘢9成係假嘅。
我話你個故仔8成都係假嘅。
This doubt goes beyond mere attitude. It hints at something more uncanny, as though Little Ma already knows what really happened at the Chunlei Hotel. Even though the times and locations mentioned by the King of Maps match reality, the progression of events and the portrayals of the characters differ entirely. It's at this point that director Herman Yulia subtly inserts a narrative twist, a turning point that completely upends the viewer's initial perception. From the gentle, pitiable woman described by the King of Maps, Ah Fong transforms into a cunning and manipulative figure, someone willing to seduce, deceive, and disregard morality to achieve her personal goals. This second version of her is a stark contrast, seductive and pragmatic. It's a deeply layered role, far from the docile traditional characters that Yip Tung typically portrayed during her TVB days. According to Little Ma, the story took an entirely different turn. Ah Fong, along with Chan Kyung and the rest of the gang, fled to the Chunlei Hotel after the robbery. A violent conflict soon erupted, and Ah Fong abandoned her young son, Ah Long. She never returned to Sun and Moon Village again. Director Herman Yao masterfully employs this storytelling device to highlight the stark contrast between two generations, while also evoking deeper, more reflective meanings within the film. Beneath what appears to be a simple narrative lies a poignant slice of human fate and tragedy, compelling the audience to contemplate the relentless cycle of life. From that moment on, Ah Long's life descended into a path of pain and misfortune. At just 5 years old, he barely survived under the cruel hands of his uncle, enduring abuse not only physically, but also mentally. The tragedy reached its peak when, in an act of self-defense, he took his uncle's life, and from then on, wandered aimlessly through the world. Growing up deprived of love from both his father and mother, Ah Long was forced to face the harsh realities of life far too early. For 30 years, he lived a life centered solely around money, with no emotional ties to his hometown or family. His taxi became his only home, a vessel that sustained his life through years of childhood trauma and loneliness. Compared to other children, was Ah Long a cruel oversight of fate? The film transcends the horror genre, emerging as a sorrowful portrait of human destiny, leaving the audience with a lingering sense of melancholy and reflection. The First Seventh Night is not merely a horror film, it's a journey toward redemption and spiritual release. The film conveys a profound and hopeful message, inviting viewers to reflect on the human condition and the invisible bonds that entangle us in life. Through its story, we see that people often cling to something, sometimes resentment, sometimes lingering pain, which keeps them lost, unable to find the motivation to move forward. The ties of maternal love, the regrets that remain, and a sense of aimlessness create a vicious cycle that feels impossible to break. The ending of the First Seventh Night serves as a release, untying the emotional knots of Ah Long's 30 years of torment. It also opens a new chapter, the beginning of another, the First Seventh Night cycle, as Ah Long now awaits the return of his own mother. If you found this video insightful, please hit like to support us, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming reviews.